Hope you don't mind. I'm going to follow your example here and just read something that I typed up. One of the things I have to address about your videos here is your generalizations about religion and religious morality. You are very obviously targeting Christianity and a very specific set of Christians at that, and then using that straw man to decry religion as a whole. Religions that have little or nothing to do with Christianity. You need to be specific when you make these accusations in order to ensure honest, fruitful discussion. If you have qualms about religion as a whole, you must be absolutely certain that your statements actually apply to religion as a whole. Obviously, claims about the Bible do not apply to religion as a whole because only one religion uses the Christian Bible, the Bible you obviously refer to, and that religion is Christianity. Now, aside from that, you play a little word game with morality, defining it in a specific way and using your definition to decry other systems, specifically religious moral systems, as decidedly anti-moral. Asrianok attacks this game better than I can, so I'll just show a clip of his video and post a link in my video description, so you can see his video in full. Now, this clip in particular is relevant because he actually makes a swipe at Ayn Rand. Enjoy.
Now there are other things you can attack with this analogy as well, like when we try to say something about what we all do as humans. I'll pick an example, almost at random. Say, Ayn Rand, author of The Fountainhead and Atlas Shrugged. We are all inherently self-interested. You may even think this yourself. So here we have something inside all of us, and we've given it a name. We've already done this with our boxes. Our boxes have something inside. That much is certain. And we've given it a name. But just because you called what's inside self-interest doesn't make it so. It doesn't even make it certain that what we have inside is the same thing. Insisting that they are is kind of silly. The result is that we can attribute whatever we want to everyone. Even altruism. The opposite of self-interest. Because in the end, all evidence that we are inherently self-interested is acceptable only after we have assumed that we are self-interested. What I mean by that is, someone who thinks that we are inherently self-interested says, even acting for the benefit of the whole group is inherently a selfish act. Someone who thinks we're all altruistic says, even acting in your own interest is often to the benefit of the whole group. What Wittgenstein's beetle shows us is that it doesn't fucking matter. It's not something we can know.
You see, it's only when you define morality your specific way as a guide of actions to get us through life, and I'm paraphrasing here, that you can showcase survivalism, as I like to call it, as the true moral code of behavior. But who's to say that morality isn't duty of some sort? Who's to say that morality isn't altruism? You talk a lot about man's purpose being to survive, alluding somewhat to evolution. Now, evolution is not about the survival of the individual. It's actually not about anything. We evolve in ways that help us survive as a species. That should point to altruism as the true moral code of humanity rather than self-interest. Reason is not man's only means of survival. I'd argue that it's not even man's primary means of survival. We eat, sleep, and drink to survive. Now, you can argue that these things are reasonable things to do because they help us survive. But that doesn't actually make reason our primary means of survival. You talk about egoism and the meaning to life being, well, life. Now that's fine, but what if when I'm presented with life and death, and I choose the life of my 5-year-old son? What if, even if only intuitively, I find his life more important than my own? Must I forsake his life for my own because this is what egoism wants me to do? Or is the moral act to choose the life of my son over my own? Your egoism certainly seems to go against my intuition. It also seems to go against the survival of the group, something Ayn Rand must have thought was moral if using evolution and survivalism are moral guides. I murdered that sentence. But that doesn't really matter because you don't really give us a good reason to accept egoism. You define morality a certain way and then claim that egoism best suits the definition of morality that you've given. This is a bit off topic, but I think part of the reason many moral systems fail is because they try to account for many things we find intuitively moral, such as not killing or stealing, but refuse to use intuition itself as a tool to determine what is moral. Now, that isn't to say that I think intuition should be one's guide to morality. It's just something to mull over.